we ready? I'd like to call to order the Education, Technology, and Policy Committee meeting of Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. Let it be shown that myself and Mr. DeHart and Mr. Harding, all committee members are present. Also present is the board president, Dr. Trahan, Mr. Voisin, Mr. Crowdis, Dr. Cluche, the superintendent, and all of his members and staff. Wait, Greg, would you say the pledge and the invocation, please?
Everybody rise, please. Lord, be with us during this meeting and dealing with the agenda at hand. May we treat each other's opinion with respect. May we learn how to reject ideas without rejecting people and sharing visions, although we may not share the same means. May this meeting be for each of us an opportunity to be served to the people we represent. We humbly ask this in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. The first issue is matter pertaining to the Terrebonne General Health Systems Partnership Update. It's the Nutritional Education and Job Shadowing Program. And Mr. Brett Chasson, Director of Healthy Lifestyle Centers with Terrebonne General, is here. Welcome. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what this program is?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
First of all, good afternoon, board. Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. As you mentioned, my name is Brett Chasson. I am the director of the Healthy Lifestyle Center for Terrebonne General. My background is an athletic trainer and helped out throughout all the schools within the school district within the past 10 years. Our team tonight is going to go ahead and speak a few minutes on behalf of the partnership between the school district and Terrebonne General. Just within the past 10 months, just within the past month, we've had over 250 staff members from the school district over on the campus at Terrebonne General, whether it be staff development or CPR certification for coaches. That number is just the tip of the iceberg of the people that will be positively affected by the programs that we're offering to the school district. Our initial partnership initially was just for our sports medicine services, our athletic trainers that we have at the 4 public high schools. Each year, Terrebonne General continues to expand its offerings to the school district with different type of educational programs. As you can see on this little informational, it's not just about your student athletes. It's about positively affecting every single student within the school district. So we want to go ahead, provide a brighter future for the next generation of Terrebonne Parish. One of our most successful programs that we do have is Sudden Impact that allows your sophomore students throughout the district to come to Terrebonne General, receive that education in regards to safe driving, the implications of driving while impaired, driving while distracted. And that doesn't just benefit the students, that benefits everybody in the community, where you have younger, safer drivers on the road. As I mentioned before, the inception of the program was over 10 years ago with our athletic trainers. They're over at the schools right now helping out with all your practices and everything. The biggest thing is that, that's at no cost to the school district at all over the past 10 years. They're at the school daily, and just last school year, they were at over 1,000 games on the high school level within the parish. So it's definitely a lot of time and money invested over the past 10 years, in which that number exceeds over $3 million over the past 10 years. Some new exciting things we have for this upcoming school year. We just hired on Dr. Patrick St. Martin, and he'll be our medical director for sports medicine this upcoming year. He'll be helping out our athletic trainers and also the student athletes. And another thing we're going to be expanding our gym and offering more sports performance opportunities to the athletes in the area to try to promote a healthier life and also providing proper lifting techniques for the student athletes for an injury prevention standpoint. I'd like to go ahead and introduce, we'll have 3 more people that'll speak tonight on behalf of the hospital. First, we'll have Michelle Brasino. She'll talk on behalf of nutrition education. Then we'll have Joanna Livingston. She'll speak on behalf of job shadowing. And then we'll have Diane Yates, our COO, and she'll speak just a couple words to end off the presentation. Thank you for your continued partnership with Terrebonne General.
Thank you.
Good evening. So my name is Michelle Brasino. I am a registered dietitian at Terrebonne General with the Healthy Lifestyle System. And I am an outpatient dietitian in the Diabetes and Weight Management Center. So I see children from ages 1 all the way through adulthood through, my oldest has been 99. So in clinic, when we see a lot of kids, we typically see them once they're hitting grade 10, 11, 12 through college, where we're starting to see a lot sooner cases of diabetes and high cholesterol and just inactivity and morbid obesity and things like this. So we were approached about how can we incorporate into the younger generation to help try to prevent these things from happening into adulthood. Okay, we have one of the highest obesity rates in the state in Terrebonne Parish, and so we want to try to correct this at the younger stages and provide that education. We know that 7th grade is where a lot of the body changes happen in students, and so that's when kids start looking into social media and what this person did or that person did as far as nutrition, how to lose weight, how to watch this, that kind of thing. So if we can start educating on what a healthy diet looks like at that age and give proper education and not misinformation with TikTok and all these kind of things, then we're going to have better students in the long run, as far as health-wise, but also as far as education-wise. We also want to encourage as much physical activity as possible, just giving different guidelines. Sometimes they just don't know some of the guidelines for physical activity. We're going to divide up the classes for all the 7th grade classes in Terrebonne Parish into girls and boys, and that way we can have very specific conversations that maybe girls don't want to talk about in front of boys and boys don't want to talk about in front of girls, where we can also tailor it to things like different changes during adolescence and some of those nutrition needs that are needed during that time frame. Reading labels, portion sizes, just general education that we don't always get, and if we do get it in schools, it's a very brief time because there's so much information that has to be taught and learned. We also want to encourage snacking. You know, we understand Cheetos and hot fries and things like that are going to be, you know, things that you eat when you're younger. But if we can teach, hey, let's pair some fruit with some hot fries and some of those better combinations, you're getting some of those treat foods with a lot healthier responses. And so we're going to have better things overall. The main point of our going into this program is to help with the misinformation, because even parents will come in and we get so much like, oh, these are bad for you and we can't do this, and then they're bringing it on to their children, and then we're having a lot of issues. So if we can have health professionals in the classrooms that can help answer some of these questions and say, please don't do this, like this is not the correct information, then we can help our next generation and hopefully get Terrebonne Parish back into normal rates.
I have a question
Yes.
for you. So how often is the intervention?
So as of now, we're going to do one class period per 7th grade class. So it's going to be one class with the girls, one class with the boys for all 7th grade children.
One
So
for
we're
the
gonna start-
year.
Correct. So we'll
Okay.
start off at that, and then we'll see where we need to from there.
Okay.
Something's better than nothing at this point, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Joanna Livingston. I am the Talent Acquisition Manager at Terrebonne General Health System. So my role is handling recruiting and onboarding for the hospital, as well as our job shadowing program geared towards students. And so I'm going to tell you all a quick little story about my experience when I was in college and why I'm so passionate about our job shadowing program in the high schools here in our parish. So when I was a senior in college, I was about to graduate. I won't say how many years ago that was, but I worked as a secretary at a department at a hospital. And so one evening, I had a chance to go downstairs and see where our radiology department was. I brought a patient down, got to see what the radiology techs did, what the CT techs did, and They were telling me all about the education for this program, how there's a 2-year degree, the career outlook for it. And I was said, oh, I want to change my whole major now from management to an allied health program. And I think that's what makes this job shadowing program so important within the high schools. It's an opportunity for students to come on site, or we go to them and talk to them about what career opportunities are out there in healthcare. I think a lot of people, I know when I was younger, I would hear healthcare and I would automatically think nursing right away. And it's not just nursing. The hospital, we always say it's like our own little community. We have facilities department, so we hire electricians, we hire carpentry, we need people for coding, for patient records, all kinds of different options, as well as our nursing areas, our radiology area, respiratory. And so the job shadowing is an opportunity for students to hear what things they would need to pursue some of those careers. Some may just need a high school diploma, some may need an associate's or a bachelor's degree, but it gives them that first look into what a career in healthcare could look like and what kind of benefits they have in those fields. We offer different programs such as tuition reimbursement, things like that, internships, externships, for students. And so depending on the grade level, depends on kind of what we gear the program to. So for like our seniors, we might talk more to them about once you're, you know what you're going for, these are the opportunities the hospital has for you to get experience, hands-on experience while you're pursuing those programs. Or if they're a 9th or 10th grader, we'll talk to them just in general about what are you interested in? These are the areas we have. Do you want to come check out a day, what a day is like, a couple of hours? Just getting in front of them and also tying it also to resume building, interview skills, simple things like that, just that they may need later on once they graduate. And so that's what our job shadowing program is. Like I said, we can have them come to us, we can go out to them, and just make it a fun, interactive experience for them and let them see what healthcare has to offer. So,
Dr. Cliche?
I had a question. So are you focusing more on juniors and seniors, or is it all, you know?
it's really all, depending on the grade level, depends on how we'll get creative to make it a fun program for them. It's really geared towards all high school students, and even middle school, elementary school, I wouldn't say they would come on campus,
Right.
but we would come to them and we can make some fun things, do some fun things to showcase what a career in healthcare would look like as well.
Yeah, this is so important because so many of our young people really don't know what's out there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they think, I didn't know that job existed.
Yes.
And so having that opportunity to go and shadow for a half a day or a day is phenomenal. I mean, like you said, it can be life-changing
Yeah.
career-wise.
It
So I
goes-
think it's awesome, and especially with all the different areas, you know, where a lot of people think of a hospital, they think of just the doctor.
Yeah.
Nobody else is there, but, you know, it takes so much to keep everything
It does.
running, so this is awesome. I think it's a great program. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions?
Anybody else? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane Yates. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Terrebonne General. I've been at Terrebonne General for about 35 years now, so I've seen a lot of change, you know, over the many years. But on behalf of our board and Phyllis Peoples, our CEO, and our administration, I just want to take a few seconds to just let you know how much we appreciate our various relationships we have with the Terrebonne Parish School Board. Whether it's through our sports training program, you know, our education program, our shadowing program. We do a diabetes education program for your employees. And also this past year, we've also did an employee health screening as well. And so I just wanted to be able to come up here and say thank you for that. We appreciate the relationship. Relationships between health and education are very, very important, we believe. You know, it's important to have healthy teachers, healthy students in the school systems, and it's important to have students coming out who enter into the healthcare fields. So I just wanted really just to say thank you and to tell you just how much we appreciate it, and that we find lots of value in lots of ways in this relationship, and we hope you do too. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Yates. And we enjoy the relationship with Terrebonne and love the expansion of the program. I think that's going to serve our students very well. So thank you.
There's always ways to grow it.
Yes.
So I think we'll always keep looking for that.
Thank you. Okay, next item is a matter pertaining to components of the school district's accountability system for the 2024-25 school year, and Dr. Monica Bro will give us the information. Thank you.
All right, good evening. You also have a copy of my presentation at your desk. So I'm just going to give you the components of our Louisiana Revised Accountability System. And I think that, the state is still working through some of these things. They've already made a few changes since it was first presented, so those changes are actually in here. So I'm going to start out with, why do we have an accountability system? It's to improve student academic achievement and provide an accurate assessment of performance. So why did they revise the current accountability system? They said it was complex, it's difficult for parents, educators, and the public to understand. They had low expectations in that system, and it's outdated. It fails to place sufficient value on career and college readiness. So those are the reasons that they came up with on why they're revising the accountability system. So it was revised to be simple and transparent. This one is going to be based on a 100-point scale that evenly measures foundational elements, higher expectations, and then college and career readiness. It's going to emphasize giving students a head start on college or career readiness. So the theme for this new accountability system is grow, achieve, and thrive. Those are the three components. So to grow, students should be measured by the number of students growing in math and ELA, with special attention paid to the lowest achieving students. So it's got those components in the grow section. Achieve, students should be measured by the number of students who are proficient in math, English, science, and social studies. So we're no longer going to have an index score through a formula. It's going to be, what is the percent of students that are proficient in ELA, math, science, and social studies? It's going to be a straight up number. And then thrive, that's going to be the high school piece. And then they're going to be measured on the number of students graduating on time, showing readiness on nationally recognized assessments, and then preparing to accelerate after they leave high school. So the current measurements, this is the current accountability system we're in. Our elementary schools, or their school performance score is based on 70% of an assessment index. This is where they take the number of proficient kids and they turn it into a formula and you get this index. 25% is based on growth and 5% is based on interests and opportunities. Middle schools with grade 8, they add one more component to that, and that's the dropout credit accumulation index. So those students that earn some high school credit, they get some points for that in the middle schools and junior high schools with grade 8. And then high school, their school performance score is based on several different components. So you have their assessment index, including their progress to English language proficiency, is 12.5%. Their growth index is 12.5%. Interest and opportunities is still 5%. ACT and work keys is 25%. Strength of diploma is 25%. And their cohort graduation rate is 20%. So you can see all of those different components that we're currently being measured by in high school. If you look at our second picture right here, these are the revised measurements. So they're taking out interests and opportunities out of the formula altogether. Our elementary and middle schools will be, we're looking at growth, which is gonna be 54%. We're gonna talk about what's gonna be comprised in that growth component in just a second. And then 46% will be the achieve component, which is who's proficient in math, science, social studies, and ELA. On the high school piece, it's gonna go down to 3 components. It's gonna be, growth is gonna be 42%, achieve, which is gonna be our end of year, end of course, our LEAP courses, and then thrive is gonna be that college and career readiness component, which is gonna be 25%. So you can see it's significantly decreased the number of measurements for high school.
So as far as the student, I'm sorry, can I?
No, sure, absolutely.
Student graduation on time, where we're starting at? You know, It's, you understand my question, like, is it from kindergarten to 12th, or is it
No,
9th
it's gonna
to
be
12th?
cohort graduation. Did the students graduate on time in 4 years?
Okay,
It's gonna
so
be by
9th to
cohort,
12th.
looking at that 9th grade cohort, did they graduate in 4 years?
Once they get, that 4 years start when they get to ninth grade,
9th grade.
not if they've been held back before.
No, it's gonna start when they enter 9th grade.
So are we gonna get a hit on any of this due to, I know it's been, thank God, a while since the hurricane, but have we lost some of those students? I mean, we obviously have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those, I mean, there's not gonna be an adjustment made due to that, or it's just, that's what we get?
I don't think we'll get any adjustments.
So that's-
Right,
So if they do move out of parish or out of state, we don't get a hit on that?
Right.
Okay, that's that was my concern.
right, but just dropping out or things like that, we won't get.
I got it.
Sure. Dr. Kluche?
When we combine this, the 45 and the 54% for elementary and middle, what number are we looking for with that combination? Are we looking for a 70, a 60, a 80?
Well, we don't know
We
that
don't
yet.
know yet.
That's something that's still in the process of being figured out. We won't know that until we have some simulated cut scores.
Okay.
So I have some information on that further in
I
the
was probably jumping
presentation.
ahead,
That's, no, that's okay. But we don't know. We won't know probably till after we get results from this year's testing.
Okay.
So we'll get an idea of what we could be looking for each letter grade.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay? So this is the scorecard, Louisiana's accountability scorecard. For elementary and middle, these are the components that will be adding up to get our average. So you can see the percent of students growing, we'll have a number for math and ELA. We'll have a number for math growth for the lowest 25% of the students, and the English growth for the lowest 25% of the students. And then also the ELT test. Did those L students meet their trajectory target? That's where that number will come from. The middle column is going to be the percent of students who are proficient. You know, what's our percentage of students that scored mastery or advanced in math, ELA, science, and social studies. And they're going to take those 9 elements right there and divide them, add them up, divide them, and that's going to be the score. That's going to be the average.
Can you let them know that we used to get proficient with basic, but now it's mastery?
That's right. Right now, we're still getting points, 80 points for basic scores. This doesn't take into account any basic scores. It's strictly mastery and advanced.
And an easy way to say it's like A to F, so A is advanced, B is master, C is basic, D is approaching basic, so we're all getting A's and B's.
A's and-
to get proficient. The average basic, yeah.
It's not accounted for in the new formula.
All school districts are going to start using this program, not just ours.
Right.
The basics still be used for the students, the progress, right? And this for basic, they still gonna move forward with this.
Oh, yeah. Mhm. The high school,
Just a little side of this, we still have the third grade issue, which is not really advanced mastery basic, but they have to score.
They have to be proficient.
Reading to be promoted, so we're still kind of dealing with proficient, non-proficient literacy.
Yeah, students,
So very high stakes in third grade this year.
and then if they score basic in third, fourth, and fifth, we are gonna provide some high-dose tutoring for those students. That's where, there's other components that are gonna come in. And so the high school scorecard adds those three components: graduation rate, the national recognized exams, and then they accelerated into college coursework, career training, or service. And so they're gonna be measured by these 12 elements and averaged. So I'm gonna piggyback on the ELL acquisition. If a school does not have 15 English language students, then that component's gonna be kept off. It's not gonna be averaged into the total. They have to have a minimum of 15 students in that particular subgroup.
Like you say, 1-5, or you say 5-0?
1-5.
15 students, That's to make the subgroup.
What is career training?
I'm gonna get to that in just a sec. Yeah. So I just went in and gave you some information on what's included in each column on the scorecards. So the first column is our growth column. And so how are we gonna know which students are growing? So it's gonna be those students who have a prior year score and a current year score and who meet full academic year. So if they took the LEAP the year before, we're gonna see how much they grew in ELA and math. And those are the students that'll be included. Now, it's gonna comprise of students who have moved up one level. Like if they were unsat and they moved to approaching basic, then they would be counted into that growth factor. If a student scored basic last year and they score basic again this year, we're gonna look at, did they score the year before in the lower half of basic? And then this year, did they score in the upper half of basic? That's kind of how, and we don't know what those cut scores are yet, but it's looking at growing half a level. Okay? If a student scored,
Level you count, you get credit.
you get credit.
So we have, yes.
Give them credit.
If they scored mastery the year before and they score mastery again, they have to go up in their scale score by at least 1 point. Okay, so if they score a 750 mastery, if they score 751 the following year, they get counted for growth if they went up 1 point.
And this is the district that has to determine this, right? We're
Well,
looking at our
that's the
data.
state. This- I
The
mean, it's gonna go
state's
through
looking
this-
at the data, and then they're gonna give the scores. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll help us to get some preliminary scores, knowing this, how they're gonna, create these things. I think it'll help us to kind of get some preliminary scores, but the state will give us the data.
Yeah. Looks like
Right.
it's creating a lot of work for the state.
Yeah, yeah. If a student scored advanced, they have to maintain that advanced score as well, and they would get credit in that growth component, okay? So the lowest 25% of students, this is not gonna be by grade level or anything. They're gonna rank the students from 850 to 650. So 850 is the highest you can get, 650 is the lowest. Rank the students, and then it's gonna be the 25% at the bottom end, those are the students that will be considered the lowest 25% of the students, okay? And then what we'll do is, if they met the growth criteria that I just explained prior to that, they would be counted in that lowest 25% meeting that growth target.
So it's not a number, it's literally, if you have the lowest being an 825, that would be considered your lowest 25%. It's not like 650 or 700 is your lowest, it's whatever the lowest 25% are.
That's right, yes.
So they get their own component to this formula.
Right.
And that'll be for ELA and for math. Okay? And then the L acquisition. For newly arrived L students, they can be accountability coded during their first 2 years of being enrolled in the United States. Accountability code is they can be excluded from the percentage of students who score proficient. They can be excluded from this formula, okay?
Based on
Their language acquisition, their status as an L student. If they come in and it's during their first 2 years of enrollment and they qualified for that L program, then that's how they'd be counted. And then the growth component, they would not be, they would be excluded for their first year. They will be included in their second year in the growth component. Okay? Leap Connect. You know, we have students who are, students with severe disabilities who are taking the Leap Connect score. They will be treated the same as LEAP scores because they have achievement levels that are considered proficient and not proficient. So at goal or above goal is considered proficient. So they would be counted for those students scoring in the mastery level, that middle column, they would go in there, but then they can also be considered for the growth target as well. Okay? So our middle column on the scorecard is the percent of students scoring Master Advanced in ELA, Math, Science, Social Studies. That's clear cut, that's the percent of students, okay? And then our scorecard for the high schools. So our first one is the graduation rate, and that's the percent of the cohort earning a diploma. That's, did they graduate in 4 years? They're nationally recognized assessments. So students on the university diploma pathway, they can score a 20 on the ACT, a 1040 on the SAT, or a 67 on the CLT. Students on the career diploma pathway, they can score any of these aboves, or if they take work keys, they have to score a gold to get credit for them, or 59% or better on the ASVAB. And then the college career or service acceleration, Mr. Lagarde, this is that component you were asking about. So if they're on the university accelerator, they would score ACT of 20 or SAT of 1040 or CLT of 67 plus TOPS aligned AP of 3 or IB of 4 or 6 dual enrollment credits with a C or better, math with a 25 or better on the ACT, English with a 26 or better on the ACT, a 590 or better in math on the SAT, and a 33 or better on the writing and language on the SAT. 3 CLEP recognized by the Board of Regents flagship. So that there's several things they need to do to get credit for them on this accelerator. The career, there's several ways they can get it here. Basic bundle plus internship. We don't know yet what that basic bundle consists of. The state is still working on that. Advanced credential plus internship, or 2 years of a fast forward aligned registered apprenticeship, or a certificate of technical studies in a high wage, high demand industry. So that's how they'll get points for that career accelerator. And then the service accelerator is either a signed military acceptance letter or service academy acceptance. So those are the 2 things that would be considered there. Okay?
It made it a whole lot easier.
There's just so many components.
We need to make something easier. I don't know how you feel after hearing that. This is very complex.
Yeah.
Very complex.
Well, there's so many things that are not fixed or set yet, yet it's in practice now. I would think you'd have those unknowns taken care of and become known, and then you start having to use them, you know?
Unfortunately.
Yes.
That's how it works.
And this is just the timeline for implementation. You know, we'll get our school performance score in the fall, sometime October, November-ish. They will send some simulated transitional scores, and this is where the letter grades they'll kind of do some simulations. The top 10% of the schools will earn an A. So looking at their averages,
So I'll make this comment. So the top 10% of schools in Louisiana, the majority of them are selective admission schools, magnet schools, charter schools. That's who's gonna fill a lot of that 10%
10%.
section. Just FY. So those schools will be the
The
A
A.
schools. The selective, will go, a lot. And there are a lot of them in Louisiana, a lot. Just want you to know.
So
So
we
the
will
next-
not have an A. And that's-
Basically, they're creating a bell curve with this. And so,
That-
you know, your performance is not as important as what percentage you fall in. So if you're in that top 10%, you can still perform real well, you know, be way up there, but maybe you're in the next 20. And so it's making the curve fit as opposed to
That's right.
the performance.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
They've been down, you had some more?
That was it. Yeah.
Excellent.
And again, you have everything in your, if you have any questions, please ask. We're trying, you know, we're finding out more. Next week, there are some webinars available about the new accountability system for system leaders, for teachers, for principals, to watch that the state will be putting on.
And Dr. Bro, who designed this? Was there a committee, or was it the
Yeah, I'm thinking it's
Bessie
the
board?
Accountability Council presented it to Bessie.
And the Accountability Council, or who? That's people appointed by someone, some board, or people in the
thinking-
Louisiana Department of
The
Education?
Department of Ed.
Department of Ed, yeah, with influence from a lot of Bessie,
But no one in districts participated in this?
yes.
They-
However, the wishes and thoughts of superintendents got very little input or traction at this point.
Yeah.
Very little, some, but very little.
Typically,
And it was very, they were very vocal about, you know, disagreeing with a lot of the structure reform. They pushed forward.
I can see why. But typically, when there is a new program, Bessie usually puts it up, and there's a comment period for people to go in, whether it be parents or educators or whomever, that want to make suggestions or comments about it. But was there any? Because I don't remember.
There was on one date. It was a date in April.
One
They-
day? Dr. Trahan?
I'm just thinking of the individual or individuals that have to create the computer program to make all these calculations for every child in every school across the state to, wow. It must be monumental.
Mr. Ford?
Well, the data is definitely a byproduct, and the federal government wants that data, so they're gonna make it happen, I can promise you that. The thing is, though, for districts like Terrebonne Parish, we're not gonna hurt by this. We're gonna be okay. We've already been doing well. We may not get as many participation trophies as we have in the past, but some districts, one that I frequent every day, is gonna struggle, and they're gonna really be hit hard by this. You know, I think, if I remember correctly, Terrebonne Parish's graduation rate was somewhere between 95 and 97%, and I'm at a school that the graduation rate is 49%. So, you know, we're gonna be doing a lot better with this new matrix, but the thing is, we're not gonna get recognized for the growth that we already have as much. So just keep keep your people encouraged. We're already doing so well that it's gonna be hard to show that much improvement. But for some districts, it's gonna be easy to show improvement because they're already so low. So,
Yes.
I think that's something to consider too.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
From the baseline. I just had a quick question. I want to go back to the part where you said newly arrived EL can be excluded from the percentage of students who score proficient. Is there a reason why we would want to exclude those scoring
Because they may not
proficient?
have picked up the language, you know, and it,
But they're scoring proficient. We don't want those added to our,
They're typically won't because of the language.
because of the language barrier.
So not scoring proficient, but in that category, proficient versus non-proficient.
oh, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, you would want
But
to,
in that whole category, we're just not gonna include them because the 99 out of 100 will not score
Okay.
proficient because they don't speak English.
right.
Yeah, at all.
Well, that's why I was curious.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. Bro.
Thank you.
Good luck. Next is consideration of approval to advertise requests for proposals for district internet services, and Mr. Babin is going to address us.
It's fairly simple and straightforward. We're doing this really early because of E-rate funding. We did this 5 years ago. It's time again to do a new contract for internet. And we did, it's 3 proposals, 3 RFPs we're doing. The first one is for internet. That's a new contract. We go out back to market by E-rate rules. And I can address the other 2 right now.
Well, let's wait and
All
do
right.
the recommendations first.
All right.
The committee recommends that the board approve the purchasing department to advertise requests for proposals for district internet services for the 25-26 school year. Moved by Mr. DeHart, second by Mr. Harding. Any public comment? Mr. DeHart? Mr. Harding? Any board members? Yes, Mr. Ford.
How satisfied have you been with the current
Love it.
provider?
If we could renew it, I wish we could, but we can't. We have to go back to market.
Okay.
But it's been bulletproof, reliable. Not so happy with their billing, but the quality of service is great. It's
So
always
maybe
been
if
stable.
going back to them or putting out for bid, maybe they'll know that we like their service, but maybe they need to be a little more competitive with their
Well,
rates.
that's why they do the RFP, the whole process. It's scored, and price is the most critical measurement
Yeah.
in the entire thing. I mean, we can
Government.
measure for past performance, history with them and all, but price is the leading element. They get that wrong, and they didn't get it right for some other projects some years ago. We have the WAN, the same company again, but they lost it for 5 years because they need to sharpen the pencil, so.
Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. Mr. Babin, you stay up there for a little while.
We'll do.
Next is the consideration of approval to advertise requests for proposals for replacement of district Wi-Fi wireless controller. Oh, that's not the recommendation yet. I was just going to get, thank you. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, it's a piece of equipment. The next 2 items are actually pieces of equipment. This particular piece of equipment is probably the most critical piece of equipment we have on our network right now, because every access point, thing sitting right up there in every room, in every classroom, is controlled by a piece of equipment. It's what allows kind of a load balancing for Wi-Fi across the district. If somebody was riding a bicycle through the halls and they had their laptop on, it would jump between the Wi-Fi controllers. If they're sitting in a classroom and there's 30 kids trying to connect and the next room's empty, it'll load balance and move some of those users to the other devices next door that's not so busy. So it's a sophisticated piece of equipment. It's an expensive piece of equipment. And through E-rate funding, we're 85% funded.
Oh, that's
So-
nice.
So that's,
Nice.
and we're, on the previous thing, we're 90% funded on the
Nice.
internet.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, did
that's
you
it.
have some more to say? Is
That's
that
it.
good? Okay. So the committee recommends that the board approve the purchasing department to advertise requests for proposals for replacement of district Wi-Fi wireless controller. Moved by Mr. Dehart, second by Mr. Harding. Any public comment? Mr. Dehart? Mr. Harding? Any board members? Mr. Ford?
Can you briefly explain what kind of restrictions we have with the E-rate funding as far as accessibility to our networks or anything that we have to provide?
Well, there's quite a lot of rules. About half my RFP is pages about E-rate. But we have to do the formal bid process. We have to do the application. We're doing the application process usually by November or December. We turn in our forms. It goes for review. If it's, once we have that bid process where we pick a vendor who is awarded. We submit that to USAC, the Universal Services Administration Corporation. That comes back in somewhere around sometimes May, but not, sometimes even later. Like on the internet, we'll know by May of it's awarded and funded. And we'll start up the internet service automatically because we're not going to do without internet, waiting for service. And those go through pretty quick. The second thing right here is hardware, and sometimes it's delayed. So we can sit on that and wait till it's funded. The only reason we're replacing right now, the one we have works, but it's end of life, which means it's no longer supported. So if some update comes in that they're changing the frequencies on the access points like they did about 8 years ago, if we didn't have that support on it, then all of a sudden 1,500 access points would stop working overnight. Having that support makes sure it stays reliable, stays updated, and keeps doing the complex stuff it's supposed to do.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Any other board members? Any objections by the committee members? Hearing none, so moved. And then finally, the next is the consideration of approval to advertise requests for proposals for replacement of district internet firewall. You wanna-
And that's a piece of equipment also. It's a critical router. It's what protects our entire network with some software built in and all. It protects our network from the outside world. It allows us to get out and go to websites we want, but it prohibits people from attacking our network. You know, it's a critical piece, and it's also approaching end of life. What we have works well. We're shooting for an upgrade of what we have. And hopefully, that's what we get, because then we can transfer the configuration, everything we have, over to the new device. It's a smooth transition.
Okay. So the committee recommends that the board approve the purchasing department to advertise for requests for proposals for replacement of the district internet firewall. Moved by Mr. Dehart, second by Mr. Harding. Any public comment? Mr. Dehart? Mr. Harding? Any board members? Mr. Ford?
So this old, outdated, end-of-life equipment, is there any way we can repurpose it, refurbish it, sell it? How do we get any kind of return on our investment?
Well, there's a lot of restrictions on selling it, mostly in bid law and all. But we can repurpose it. We can actually move it to an inside, another layer of firewall protection, which we may do. So it's not the latest, greatest updated model, but it's still very good. It still works, and we can do it as a second layer of defense. So we can have other activities. They do that in development companies where they have patent offices, so they'll protect them from the rest of the company. So we can take maybe child welfare and attendance or something, have things isolated. Yeah, just, and if nothing else, it can end up going to the CLIck program for recycling. But once it's no longer supported, a lot of people don't want it, you know, because it's on large critical networks like this, and they don't want to put something in place that they can't control it, can't update it.
Good. Mr. Babin, any idea how much, how much greater the cost is going to be from the last contract that we had for these pieces of equipment?
Well, last time we did this, it was, the firewall, we didn't get funded on E-rate. This time we were trying to run E-rate. Still 85% funded.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi control is about $500,000. So it's like $75,000, our cost.
Okay.
You know, it's actually a lot more than that, but we get about a 54% discount at being an education system. And then we get 85%.
But it's going to increase from the last time we
Oh,
had a
yeah,
contract
all
with them. It's-
technology
yeah,
stuff is
it's-
up. But the fact that we've got these funds, we have 1.6 million in E-rate allocated funds right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of divvied up by the size of our school system.
Right.
Some of that, which I would have went after already, but with all of the ESSER money and FEMA money, replacing a lot of our equipment. And we're replacing all our core switches from last year's project. So that was like 1.2 million that was 85% funded. So that was a good project, and it gave us a really nice upgrade to every school site.
Well, it's nice too that we have all the new facilities going on, and then this is going to be upgraded, so yeah, we're in good shape. Any other board members? Any objections by the committee? Hearing none, so moved. Thank you, Mr. Babin. And then the final agenda item is the matter pertaining to the departmental messages in a minute. And we have first, Mr. Talbot? No? Okay. Okay, we had Talbot listed, so Mr. Butler,
Good enough.
go ahead, please.
So, first of all, good evening. Prior to the conclusion of last school year, we actually were able to order an upgrade version of metal detectors called OpenGate. We weren't able to utilize them at the end of last year due to not being able to schedule the training in time to use them in our high schools, that is. We were able to order 10 sets of OpenGate metal detectors. We were able to schedule training last week for Wednesday, August 14th, whereas each high school principal, along with an associate, was asked to come to the central office, whereas we did have a representative from Technology Communications, which is where we ordered the OpenGate metal detectors from. And so they did come. We did about a half day of training on how to utilize those metal detectors. They're fairly easy to use. It is an upgraded version as stated, especially when compared to the Garrett metal detectors that we purchased the year prior. So on Thursday, August 15th, we were able to implement a full school search at Terrebonne High School, whereas the metal detectors allowed us to be able to get kids in and out at a high velocity. We had less bottlenecking. We were able to allow kids to still maintain items on them, with the exception of, obviously, they had to remove their Chromebooks, so they couldn't pass through the metal detectors with those. And any of the water drinking bottles that you may oftentimes see kids bring with them to drink out of, those had to be removed. So what these metal detectors allow us to be able to do is not only to be able to better secure our campuses, but we're able to, in a much faster rate, get everyone searched. So what we were able to do was, Terrebonne High School actually has 3 sets, along with South Terrebonne High School. Our other 2 high schools in Ellender and in H.R. Bourgeois were also given 2 sets, however, given the fact that we looked at the fact that South Terrebonne actually has a stadium, so we can use them for sporting events, which these types of metal detectors are oftentimes used at professional events. They're sometimes used at places like, let's say, the Montreal Convention Center. You may see them there just as well. So it's,
Could you give a little description, Corey, as you're saying it, just
So,
kind of describe what they look like?
so they're actually 2 towers. They're about 25 pounds apiece. You can actually walk with them. They operate for batteries, and they're able to be programmed actually by downloading an app on a cell phone. And so the program that you can set the different settings, the different ratings in terms of if you wanted to make it more secure, it just depends on what activity you have going on. If it's something where you think you're gonna need a little bit more of a stringent security setting, then you can do that. You have that option. There are about 4 settings, 4 to 5 settings that can be utilized. Some of those settings that allow you to be able to dive in and, well, actually, there's one setting that allows you to dive in to be able to set your own personal settings just as well. So, but in saying this, we were able to get well over 1,000, well, right over 1,000 kids in and out in the class in a very short period of time. I think this is an excellent purchase for us to make parents and kids feel safer. Do believe that this also will allow us the capacity to be able to utilize these on a daily basis if we so choose to go that route.
Thank you. Mr. DeHart?
Does it detect vaping thing?
Well, this is the tricky part about that. I really don't want to get into too much of the settings because I don't want to kind of give away what we are able to do and what we're not able to do, Mr. DeHart. But I'd be more than willing to talk to you about that. But the answer to that is yes, but there's a little bit more that actually goes to that. Actually, our other metal detectors also detect vapes, but it's contingent upon the setting that we decide upon.
Well, our sheriff's department has a grant that they have the capability of assisting us in that if we choose to need their service.
Yes, sir. And let me just add on just to say that we still will utilize the Garrett metal detectors that we do have. We're still looking at leaving at least one.
And the Garrett's is a walkthrough.
It's a walkthrough, yeah.
Yeah.
The open gate metal detectors allow us, I mean, we can physically move those things, whenever we want to. They're just a lot manageable in terms of being able to carry to and from events. So then that's a good part too. Like I said, the batteries last about 18 hours, if I'm not mistaken. So we can do a football game, a jamboree, and utilize them all game and not having to worry about it.
Nice. Mr. Voisin?
So they're going to be placed at the football games and sporting events?
This is a suggestion, yes. Actually, we'd probably like to utilize both. And the principals do have that option, as stated. There still will be a Garrett metal detector, a walkthrough that they will have at their disposal, for their convenience. So it's really up to them. But yeah, it just depends on how many events we have going on.
Right.
Sometimes in the fall, you got volleyball that's going on along with maybe a JV football game. So, it just depends.
Okay. Dr. Kluche?
Yeah, what's the life expectancy of these metal detectors before they become obsolete?
That's a good question as technology continues to evolve each day. So at this point in time, I don't actually have that answer, but give me 24 hours and I will.
Right. Mr. Ford?
So last year, for football season, they had a shooting at Thibodeau High outside their stadium. The very next week, Thibodeau High was traveling to play against H.L. Bourgeois here at Terrebonne, and we had metal detectors. And it went smoothly. There was really no hassle. No one, had a fit about it. So I think people are starting to realize in today's day and age, it's necessary to have that at times. So I think it's a good idea to have it at the stadium and utilize it every Friday, personally. I know it's hard to find people to work it sometimes, but I think we get the right people trained, we can get it done.
Truth of the matter is that we didn't have to utilize as many faculty and staff with this particular style because of the efficiency that it allows us to be able to get students through and detect it. In the event that a student the alarm does go off, we still have the Garrett wand detectors that we do utilize. So again, we have about 3 different options, which I'm feeling pretty good about where we are.
Mr. Harding?
Thank you. Mr. Butler, Mr. Ford is correct. I think that was something that was precaution because of what happened at Thibodeau High last year. So I know how the regular metal detector configuration, could you maybe, I'm trying to figure out my mind what it looked like, and I guess everybody else here also too, is that you can give us, maybe get us a picture or something with it, actually what we're looking at, or?
No problem.
Because I'm trying to figure
Tell you
out.
what, better yet, how about we just have them at the next school board?
At the meeting, yeah, because we,
Okay, yeah, because I'm trying to figure out what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Down high with a little stand. You could put them as close or as far as you.
About 4 feet.
We'll bring a set.
About 4
I got it, okay, I got it.
Yeah. About four,
Well, just
about,
bring
about
it.
4 feet. They have to be about 4 feet, approximately 4 feet apart. And you guys will walk through it. Now, the beautiful thing about this particular style of metal detector is that it not only displays in lighting on the towers itself, but also if there is an administrator, like I may have access, I can have access because it does work with Bluetooth once you download the program. If you have access, that is, I am actually the district administrator, but I can also see, because it without giving away too much, I can see things on my phone that will also signify as to whether or not I need to pull somebody aside. And so that works. Just to add on to what you stated about football games, we do have a partnership with Houma Police Department, to whereas they do bring the tower out, and so they surveillance our parking lot and able to assist us in securing the parking lots, at our sporting events.
Mr.
Along with the
Butler,
sheriff department too, if I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Mr. Butler, I assume these pieces of equipment will be housed at the individual high schools? Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
okay? And who is going to be the point person to maintain it, make sure the battery is charged and it's where it needs to be when it needs to be there?
That was the whole purpose of having at least 2 individuals to represent each of the high schools. So between the head administrator and an assistant principal, it will be maintained between those 2 individuals. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't add individuals, because I do have the ability to be able to do that. So if we wanted to add an additional administrator or administrators, we have the ability to do that just as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Butler. Appreciate it.
All right.
Next is Mr. Matthew Hodson, Supervisor of Human Resources.
All right, good evening. I just wanted to give you a few updates on our personnel situation. So as we speak this afternoon, we're a little bit north of 90% certified teachers in the classroom. That's up from about 83% last year. So we're plugging away, getting to that 100, hopefully. We have 67 non-certified teachers district-wide. 67, the number. You want to guess who has the most non-cert? What level, high school, middle school, junior high, or elementary? Which ones has the most?
I would say elementary.
High school, 25. That's 25 high school non-certs, 18 middle school, junior high, 21 elementary, 2 at TAPS and 1 at SEC. So that's the breakdown of the 67. So I think we're doing a good job to get to our goal of 100% certified.
So, Mr. Hobson, in high school, who are the non-certified, what are the non-certified teachers teaching in high school?
I can give you that list. I have it.
Okay.
It's there's special ed. I'll give it to you. I'll send it
Mostly
to you.
special
It's
ed?
special ed.
Okay.
It depends on the school itself, but the special ed, and then you go to one school, it's every subject. One of
Really?
the particular high schools.
So that's why I guessed elementary or middle school, because I thought they needed to be certified in a subject area. And how do you put a non-certified teacher in a subject area, that doesn't know anything about the subject, basically?
But they
Not
might have a
trained in the
degree,
subject.
so like you could be not certified, you could have a history degree
Yeah.
and be not certified and teach a social studies course or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So
Right.
that's,
So you just,
hopefully you don't just know nothing.
well,
About
no,
anything,
I mean, you
right?
can be degreed,
Degreed.
but,
You could be degreed non-certified.
yeah, but I could never teach a math class, in high school, even though I'm degreed, so,
Right. Neither-
that's what I'm thinking.
So
Yeah.
out of the 67, do we have a certain number of those working towards certification?
A large number of those. I don't have the exact number, and we talked about that, but the days of people just sitting around doing nothing and getting a job year after year after year, those days are gone. Our principals have done an excellent job of pushing people to get certified or not hiring them back if you just don't, if you're gonna sit around and do nothing, we just won't hire you back. So, yep.
Your question, Mr. Ford?
I don't really have a question, more of a statement. To put things in perspective, a district that I frequent daily is short 140 teachers, 140 teachers as a district. And a school that I frequent daily is short 12 teachers. I'm not saying certified. I'm saying there's 12 vacancies right now, and a 13th one is coming at the end of this week. So we're doing okay. Now, there are a lot of people that have reached out to me recently saying, oh, I didn't get a job this year in the district, okay, well, an hour up the road, you got plenty of job opportunities for you, they're not certified, so, I mean, something that sticks in my head all the time, and Dr. Yarbrough, I will give you credit for this. You said it one time, a long time ago, we are not an employment agency. So it's a privilege to work in Terrebonne Parish, and I think people are starting to see that. Not just from the pay. The pay is one thing, but it's the benefits and it's people get into education a lot of times because it's consistent, it's secure, it's safe, but you have to put in the work. You have to get the degrees, you have to get the certification. So I like that we're on this upward trajectory. I wish we were at 100%, but I'm sure we'll get there.
We're
but
gonna keep plugging away at it.
We're much better
That's what we're
than
gonna do.
a lot of other people.
Really good. Dr. Kluche?
I know we're currently under the critical shortage criteria, so we can hire retired teachers back. Is there a number where we're no longer under that?
In order for us to hire a retiree under critical shortage, it has to be that we have less than 3 certified teachers applying for the position.
So it's on a position basis?
Right. So before we hire retirees, we exhaust all of our certified people. So we're not holding newly certified teacher back because we just, hiring all the retirees.
Thank you.
We do all of the certified people first, and high school is you just talked about them not knowing the curriculum. So especially our higher maths and biologies and all, that's where a lot of our retired people will come in that have that knowledge.
Right.
So that they can teach those upper level math and
Great.
sciences
That's
at
great.
a high school level.
We need
Excellent.
them.
I thought it was basically like if you had all but 20 teachers or whatever, but it's not based on that number, it's based on the number applying for the position. That gives me a better understanding. Thank you.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Borzan?
one more real quick. Is there a way that we can see a breakdown, like from parish to parish? Because that would be like something real positive. Terrebonne Parish has 90-something% certified teachers. Is there a way we can, according to LaFouche
I
and
can
St.
try.
Mary and-
I don't know how I'd find that, but
Yeah.
maybe I can
You can
find
figure
it.
that out. I know you
maybe
can.
do
You're
that.
smart.
Wait,
I
does
can-
the state not
I
have
can
that?
find it.
The
What's that?
state must have that.
It's dated. A lot of the stuff the state has, it might be old. They don't really have current,
Oh,
it's hard to find current information. And a lot of parishes hide things from you.
I'm sure.
I realized that when we were looking at the salary schedule stuff,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, Mike, I'm sorry, somebody has something? Okay. I guess I'm looking at the 67 non-certified teachers, and I think maybe we need to be conscious of understanding maybe next year that may change when we fully implement what you did partially this year so far as moving teachers from the labs and also the library. So that number may go down where we might be maybe at 95%. So I just kind of want us to kind of look at that also too.
Also, I'd like to mention too that we currently have 16 resident teachers, 16. 9 of them in their first semester and 7 of them in their second semester. And we do pretty well if they come to do residency with us. We do pretty well at keeping those. So that's another 16
Nice.
opportunities, that we have currently working for us. And when they come work for us, we give them a year credit if they spent their residency with us. So we pay them based with a year experience. So that's another,
Just as long as they're not taking retired employees' places, we have to remember that. Okay, thank you so much for your information.
anything else? All right.
Good. Next is Mr. Darrell Dillard, Supervisor of Secondary Education.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just want to take a moment to kind of share with you guys an overview of the opening of schools. We're a little bit past 2 weeks of school. And as I'm walking through the schools and going to different meetings, student orientations, open house, student assemblies. Our principals are doing a great job across the board of front-loading information to parents, not just in high school, but all of our principals. As secondary supervisor, I have the opportunity to go into the high schools more frequently than I do the elementary schools. And so let me just share with you just a little bit of some of the things that they have taken upon themselves to share with parents. They have made social media posts about new laws that's coming out, made social media posts about the changes in dress code. They made social media posts about the graduation requirements. This is being repeated at student orientations, student assemblies. They sent home letters to parents talking about the different changes and what they can expect when the children come to high school. J-Campus calls. They go early before open house, they stay later after open house to answer any individual questions. So I wanted to commend the principals for putting in all of that work. It's a ton of information that they had when they came back in July off of summer vacation that they had to absorb, kind of figure out what's going on, teach it to their leadership team, and be able to present this to the general public. I think they did an outstanding job with that. And to me, it's evident by the lack of things I don't see when I'm walking through the school. I don't see a lot of kids, even during transition, on their cell phones. They'd rather not even pull it out right now. I don't see a lot of short, tight skirts. I don't. And I'm in these schools almost every day. So I think that is the evidence that shows that the work that they put up front, they're front-loaded, so they're proactive instead of having to try to be reactive. And I realize it's only 2 weeks, but I think we had a very good start, and it's really thanks to the work that they put in beforehand.
Awesome. Thank you. And next is Mr. Blaise Pellegrin, Supervisor of Special Education.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
A couple updates for you. The first one is going into this new school year. It's also the second year that we've gotten some guidance from the State Department about how they want to see our special education programs change and some of the best practices that they'd like to see us implement. So what we've done this year, and you've heard some of the highest rates of non-certified people come with our special education teachers. We opened up the school year with the first 2 weeks of school, in fact, starting on the second day of school, bringing all of our SPED teachers in to get trained. We started with those that were working with IEPs. We worked with them first, and then we followed up with our teachers that are going into the classroom or that are pulling students. So what we did in particular for them, we've started pulling them to work with them on strategies and making sure they understand what the just teach mindset is and how they, of course, fit into that. And it's not about just being in a classroom, but it's about truly being able to service the students and creating the IEPs that can help students grow. Not just a piece of paper that we're going to have or a file that's in a computer, making sure that it's something that's going to lead to student growth. So that's been our first 2 weeks. Also, we received this, this last week some information that we are a part of the pilot program for LDOE's playbook. So all the districts had an opportunity to say, hey, we would like to be part of the pilot so that we can give input on how this is being implemented. And with Mr. Angeron's approval, we applied for that, and we're accepted. We're one of 11 districts out the whole state that are going to receive not just support from LDOE, but also from the national consultant, Nate Levinson, who created the playbook for us. So we're looking forward to that, and of course, pushing forward with helping our students grow. Just to let you know, too, a little update, our numbers last year for SPED students with disabilities that grew, we saw a 2% increase, which is small, but on the state scale, not many districts saw growth. So we're very proud of that growth, but of course we know we've got a lot more that we can work on and a lot more to grow. So that's one thing we're going to focus on. Second update for you real quick. As you know, SEC is being repaired from hurricane repairs. I want to thank maintenance, warehouse, our technology department. Within a week's time, we put that Honduras campus back together. They got it looking good. Today, Mr. DeHart was there with me also. We had open house, had a good showing from parents, and they're in a good place right now. So thank you very much for all you've done to help make that happen.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. DeHart has a comment, I believe.
I'm not trying to take no thunder from this gentleman right here because I appreciate every effort he's putting. But the employees and the kids were wonderful. I really thought it was a holiday because they were so happy being in that facility. and not being from one building to another. Everybody is really, really happy to be there. So I think that's a positive statement also, Mr. Blaze. I'm just trying to add what I saw, and that's the second visit I did so far in the 2 weeks. And I see the same thing. And today, I got to see parents. They're very appreciative of what we're doing with their children. And other schools I visited, parents have been seeing that same thing for special needs kids. So we're providing a service second to none. I'm very pleased with that, and thank you for your leadership.
Mr. Ford?
You know, I don't like to give compliments, but I really have to compliment the job that you're doing, Mr. Pellegrin. And you're really making Bubba look good because, you know, he chose to put you in that position. And I think you kind of hit the ground running. And I'm so pleased at what you're doing because you are providing for our students. And I think our community is benefiting from it. So
Thank you.
You could put this day on your calendar because I'm not going to give many of these compliments. But thank you for the job you're doing.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Gold star. Thank you, Mr. Pellegrin. Education, Technology, and Policy Committee is adjourned.